Good morning, Daniel Spatz from California, Daniel Spatz Interviews. We have a very special guest from Europe. He's in Turkey, Vladimir Voltchkov, former professional player, current tennis coach. He reached the Wimbledon semifinals in 2000 and coming from the qualifying. Okay, so it was fantastic. He reached as a top 25 in ATP and also Davis Cup semifinalist in 2004, taking his country, Belarus, to the semifinals of the old Davis Cup fashion. I hope he can connect really soon. I think and guessing all tennis fans are following the French Open, right? Amazing Roland Garros, great matches, so far so good. I mean, fantastic tennis. I personally enjoy what I'm watching. So saludos Ecuador. No, this is just Josefa, ¿cómo estás? How are you doing? Voltchkov, Vladimir. Be on time on the tennis court. Hopefully we have a wonderful time. Vladimir.
Hello, Daniel. How are you?
How are you, my friend? How are you doing? Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you for inviting. Thank you for inviting.
It's my pleasure. You look younger than when you reached the Wimbledon semis.
Thank you for a compliment. At least a little bit more authority, more like authority, a little bit bigger. But again, thank you for inviting. And the sunshine in Turkey, you know, keeps me nice and in shape.
Vladimir, are you following? Talking to the present times, are you following the French Open?
Absolutely. I'm watching how the guys are doing, and you know, it's a nice era because obviously Roger is not playing anymore. Rafa is out, so it's a big battle if Novak can surpass. And also, there's a lot of this since this two of the three big guys are out now. A lot of the youngsters they want to make a name, so they're pushing really hard. And of course, it's interesting time now. I think it's kind of the shift of generations, and it's very interesting to observe what's going to happen. And of course, some of the interesting matches that are coming up, it's going to be against the Rune and Ruud, and then the winner of that is going to play Djokovic, which promises also to be a very interesting match. And of course, Echeverry going all the way to the quarterfinals, that's a huge achievement for him. And he's been having a pretty solid season. So let's see, you know, if he can put up, I'm sure it's going to be a good fight. Argentinians have a great history at Roland Garros. So let's see what happens with Zverev. I think Alex is also very hungry for a big comeback on a big stage. So let's see what happens.
So, Vladimir, you've been in the semifinals of a Grand Slam, coming from the qualifying. And it's funny because you've been in the first round, countryman, Juan Ignacio Chela.
Yes.
Going back to that amazing, unforgettable time for you, you could have lost, right? Maybe the first round. I mean, it's incredible.
Yes.
Take us to the ride to the semis.
Yes. So I'll start with a small joke about the first round, since you mentioned it. As I qualified, you know, there was a gap of 2-3 days where you're preparing for the main draw. And then I asked my dad, when the draw came out, I said, Dad, go check out the draw and tell me who I'm playing. So he said, you're playing this guy, this Argentinian guy, this, I don't know his name, I think Puerta maybe. I said, so I'm playing a lefty guy. I'm like, so for the next, and I didn't bother to actually check the draw because my dad has been around traveling quite a lot. I wouldn't think that he would make a mistake, but it was just, he knew who I'm playing, but he just, you know, older guy, he mixed up the names. So for the next 2 days, I'm practicing with the lefties. And then a day before the match, I'm looking, I said, Dad, I'm playing Juan Ignacio Chela. He's a right-hander. He says, oh, yeah, you're playing Chela. Well, it's a different business because 2 days I was practicing with the lefties. So this was like a little funny story to to start with, but I have to say quite honestly that it was, you know, for some big events in every player's life, there is that moment where a lot of things, good things come together. I was coming out half a year before that. I was coming out of the injury and being away from the tour for 2-3 months. I had to rethink many things. I took a little bit different approach to my work ethics, to kind of my things. And then as a result of a few things coming together, you know, I put up a pretty good performance. And believe it or not, even though being there as a qualifier, but winning match after match, I felt like I was ready to go. And even though in the semifinals against Pete, I was pretty, a day before that, I almost had a panic attack because I was thinking, my God, I went so far. It's a semifinals. The whole tennis world is going to be watching the center court of Wimbledon. And then I'm playing against the biggest player of that era. And then he's going to demolish me. You know, I'm going to look bad in front of all the world. And this kind of was going on through my head. But then I said, listen, you know, you deserved 100% to be here. You played all the matches to go all the way there. You've worked hard. You dreamed for it. And it was you winning those past 6 matches. So you deserve this chance. Whatever outcome is, you deserve your time on that big stage. And then the fear started going away. I went through my routine, doing all those stretches, all those like training routines, and then getting my mind into the rituals, and then just, you know, going forward with it. And I just, one more funny thing is that before we just walked on the court, and the TV in the locker room, the commentators started preparing, and then I see John McEnroe talking with somebody, and then they asking him like what would you recommend to this guy? And Johnny Mac goes, quite honestly, I would just tell him to take a lot of deep breath. And I was hearing this just before walking on the court, and I was like, okay, here we go. So it was interesting.
Vladimir, deep in your heart, deep in your soul, do you really think you could beat Pete Sampras or not?
It's a very interesting subject. I have to say that if I was gonna play, I don't want to sound arrogant now, because it's, you know, every big player's ego is sensitive. But I thought that if I would play one of the other two, I would have a little bit of a chance against Agassi or Pat Rafter. And the reason why I'm saying is this: I felt so good on the baseline. My serve was hitting rockets, and I felt really like I could overpower people from my forehand side. And if I could get my teeth into the player. What happened with Pete was he played literally 100% serve and volley. So he never in the whole match, not once, first or second serve, stayed back. And it's kind of tough, you know, playing so much tennis and kind of finding that rhythm, constructing the points, and then all of a sudden you get this mountain coming at you every time, and a few times you hit a good return, and then the guy hits a winner of the half volley. You're like, okay, what are we gonna do now? So as the match went in, I kind of like my confidence started going a little bit down, even though there was a tiebreaker in the second set where I missed like an easy volley to equal to 6-all. But the fact of playing against someone who is literally doing 100% serve and volley, it was, I never met that in my entire life before. Even though I grew up in the era where we played a lot of indoor tennis, there was a lot of volleyers, but this was at that time already a little bit too much. So even though I thought I was ready for a good fight as I walked on the court, but as the match progressed in, I literally could not find a place where to put my teeth, you know, and especially playing against someone who won this tournament 6 times before, you know, it's like, it doesn't help your confidence.
How intimidating was Pete's presence? This aside of his game, I'm talking about his demeanor on the court.
I have to say, for me, even though everyone is talking about obviously everyone is talking about the GOAT issue so much these days, for me, Pete was an absolute number one, and I'll tell you the reason why. As much as I love Roger and I really appreciate his aesthetics of the game, his intellectual part of the game, but to my temperament, Pete was a lot closer. Like Pete's game, even though he was not the biggest guy on the tour, but the game he played was so big that every time you just knew he's gonna come straight at you. He has a chance to hit the bomb forehand. He's gonna hit that forehand. He's gonna take over the control of the rally. Every time he was serving, he was coming straight at you. You toss him a lob that he can reach, he's gonna try to hit that Pete Sampras overhead, you know, like a slam dunk overhead. And that pure power, but yet with such elegance, to me, this was honestly, I'm not gonna say that anybody is in my idol. Only the God is the idol for every human being. But in tennis world, the way he played, that edge of being so aggressive and a little bit almost rigid, but yet so athletic, to me, this was, it really bought my heart. You know, like I said, Roger, in my opinion, has more aestheticity, but to me, that harder part, coming straight forward at you, punishing every chance, every opponent's weakness, to me, this was so much masculinity in Pete's tennis. So that's kind of my view on this.
Fantastic.
And I want to add to this is that another part which I think he intimidated a lot of people with is because he was such a cool character and always behaving so nice, never stepping across the line. It's sometimes you want to find something bad in the other guy to make you angry to fight better. But when you actually played Pete, the guy was so good at everything and so kind and so much class that it's already an honor to share the same battlefield with this guy. So it's almost like you want to get angry at the guy to find kind of this fight, but you just don't find it. So it's like a smooth killer. You know, he's killing you, but he does it so on such a class level with such great tools that all you want to say after the match is, I say, you know, I'm just an honored to share this time with this champion on the court.
If you would be playing today games, Vladimir, which player you feel would make you feel that? Like, oh, I want to kill this guy. Any name that you've seen? Oh, if I play this guy,
I want to beat this guy. I have to say, it's gonna be not easy to come up with a name, because the reason why I actually love the tour so much is because maybe I'm gonna sound strange now, but the life we live on the tour, it teaches. It's not teaches you. It just, you go through so many situations with the guy that it teaches you to be, I'm not gonna say diplomatic, but more kind of like a tolerant to other people's weaknesses. And you start recognizing everyone's temper can be different, everyone's passion can be different, the way people project themselves in the locker room or on the court can be different, and you're learning to accept that. So I was happy that towards the end of my career, I was in a place where I was just I felt comfortable on the tour, because I respected every time I went on the court, I respected that guy, because I knew how hard it is to get where we are both right now. So this kind of feeling got me to the point where I literally, not that, I can't say that there was this guy that I would want to beat like so much. I swear to God, you just start to appreciate all the hard work, all the situation, all the tough situations for people to get to that level. You know the prize. So he had maybe a little bit different way than you, but it was for sure hard way. He put his sweat, he put his blood to be on the other side of the net, and respect for that way over than trying to get anything negativity to find some, okay, I want to beat this guy because of that and that.
Watching the seededs at that Wimbledon, 8 out of 16 guys were hitting one-handed backhands. I was counting and looking. What happened? 50%. Nowadays, you have only Tsitsipas, maybe in the top. Shapovalov, maybe Dimitrov, but they lost. It's the only alive is Tsitsipas. What happened with the one-handed backhand, Vladimir, in men's tennis?
I think the fact that David Nalbandian was the guy who was constantly beating Roger, he paved the way for everybody. When you have such a great player or like Roger's caliber playing an unbelievable one-hander with absolute talent, with purity and aestheticity, and then you get David Nalbandian who just gets there and starts killing his backhand with a double-hander, and then kids are home sitting there like, okay, maybe we move to the double-handers, because it's like a good double-hander is always going to be a bit harder and more powerful than a good one-hander. As they say in boxing, a good big boxer will always beat a good smaller boxer. So I'm not sure that it's 100% relevant association, but I think really like a very well developed backhand, I think it's slightly a bigger weapon, and especially now that the courts in general slow down a bit. So I think that being able to generate a little more pace on the double-hander backhand, I think that's probably the key.
You're a coach now. You're coaching, right? Teaching.
Yes. Yes.
You teach all the kids, boys and girls, two-handed backhand, Vladimir?
I have to say that I'm running a high performance academy, and we almost don't have the kids coming in just starting to play. It's already kids who are coming in who already have their own, they've made up their mind, either one-hander or backhander or double-hander. So we just work with whatever there is. And obviously I'm trying to share my knowledge from a double-hander. And of course, being a double-hander, but of course, I'm watching a lot of Stan videos, Roger videos, if I'm working with the one-hander guys and trying to put the correct technical points across to help them as well.
What is the secret of the two-handed backhand?
The secret of two-handed backhand is, to me, is first of all, to hit a good double-hander backhand is you have to work a little bit better with your feet, for sure, to get in a position. It's a little bit easier to play with one-hander, especially you have a better option to slice, to learn to slice. It's a little bit easier shot. And of course, in a double-hander, I think important to have a good rotation into the ball, because basically to hit a double-hander, you must have a good rotation. So if you learn to have a good rotation, to put it into the ball, that's going to help a lot. But I also think important is decision-making. It's understanding your place on the court and whether you're going to play your backhand more of a kind of a neutral stance, or if you're put too far out to defend, and then you're going to have your open stance backhand as well. Those are two things. So you have to very clearly see what situation is the best to hit the ball now. And also, I think for a good to have a good double-hander backhand, as much as you have to be able to be solid on the ground, you also have to feel very good in the air, because modern tennis, a lot of stuff happens on the clay, but also on the hard courts, people are able to generate some good speed, but also spin. And if you're feeling comfortable in the air and you can position your body better, which means coordinational abilities, that's going to help your backhand as well, because it's a tough ball to play. You know, double-hander, it's not easy. So if you're feeling good in the air, that helps.
But what do you mean in the air? When you jump?
Of course. Basically, you're going to have shorter, lower balls where you most likely will come in a neutral stance or close stance. And there you have to use your linear momentum. You have to get really down and have a good wide base to have a good stability. But also, when you have a wider base, you can transfer your body weight into the court so much better. But then, if you have a high ball that is pushing you back and you don't have enough feet to run all the way back, and you have to hit in the air, if you are so good coordinated and you can play that ball having 2 feet in the air and still execute the kinetic chain well, then you're going to have a good backhand. And then if you have problems with coordination or footwork, or you're not holding a good balance when your both feet are in the air, you're in trouble.
If you would have to give Thomas Echeverry an advice playing with it, to me, I think is the favorite to win Zverev because he has more experience. He has been there before. But let's say you have to give Thomas an advice the night before the match with Zverev. What would you tell him?
Use the distance, because we all know Alex has a tendency to fall too far back. He's going very often, he's going all the way back. And then if you make this guy, I mean, he's a huge guy. I have huge respect for him. He moves pretty well for a big guy. But to me, I think he has a tendency to move too far back. And Argentinians are pretty good with the drop shot. So I would say that if Thomas finds a way to make the big tower move back and forth more than usual, he can cause some trouble. Because at the end of the day, in tennis match, in boxing match, you are putting the pressure on the guy when you start making him to do things that he's not expecting to do or he doesn't like to do. And Alex is not spending too much time at the net, first of all. So, of course, after he makes a few good shots, he's going to come in. But he has a tendency to win a lot of balls staying pretty far back. So he basically just, because he has such long pivots, he can generate so much power from behind the court. And sometimes he gets into this rhythm, just grooving. And then it's almost like, if you can make this guy all of a sudden do a lot of sprints forward and try to make him hit a passing shot when he's rushing for the ball and picking the ball up, and if you're choosing your place at the net correctly, then you're going to put him out of balance for sure. Another thing is that finding that good mix. Now, definitely, I'm not saying that you have to serve in volley, not, because this guy is too good. I mean, he has all these forehands, backhands figured out from the back of the court, but it's not about that. It's about tactics and putting the pressure. I think, again, if every once in a while you're going to surprise the guy with coming in here and there, body serve, doesn't need to be very hard, and just make him look at this ball from a little bit different angle than where he used to, I think this is going to make him think at least. And then, let's see how he can get his rhythm, because the last match he played against Grigor was relatively easy, 6-1, 6-4, 6-3. So he feels confidence. But sometimes, as you probably know, on clay, it's almost better to get those a little bit longer matches. So you're really feeling everything on the court. And when you have that easy match, it's good to save some energy. But then if you're losing a little bit of the rhythm, and then the guy comes in and he can surprise you a little bit, these things can put you off balance a bit.
So you think he should play short points, Thomas Echeverry, or what do you think, or a combination of short and long points?
I would say that when I'm saying shorter points, is not short as shots in the rally. I'm saying work in the distance. So you're going to play a few longer balls, find the chance to cut the distance and make the big guy come closer, and then push him back again, and then a few drop shots here and there, So make the guy, let's say, if he has a tendency to play a lot from the baseline, 2.5, 3 meters, and if you make the guy play a few more balls where he needs to run for the ball, he's going to be uncomfortable. And then We're not saying that make those drop shots necessarily to the corners. Sometimes drop a short ball in the middle, take the angles away, you know. And I'm not saying that do this every time. Of course not. You're still going to have to play a solid match. You're going to have to keep up your percentage pretty high. But if you're not surprising this guy with something, because he has been there, because he has done that, because he's played so many good matches, he naturally has so much more experience. So if you just do something that you're doing good and he's doing good, what he's doing is doing better because it gotten him a lot more before already and earlier. So it's hardly you're going to surprise this guy with something he's used to. So I would say that you want it or not, you like it or not, but you have to bring in an element of surprise to try to put this guy off balance. That's my humble opinion.
Hey, you have the authority to talk, to speak, Vladimir. So let's imagine a match between Novak and Alcaraz, because that's the potential semis.
Yes.
How Novak can beat Carlos Alcaraz, the young, you know, with those powerful tennis? He's young, he's eager, he's hungry. Do you honestly you give Novak any chance to that match?
I'm trying to think where Novak can outplay Carlos. It's not easy to find these things. Experience, yes, but Carlos has been already in the semis before. He's been in the finals. He's played all of the big guys. So it's not like he doesn't have enough experience. He has enough experience, and also he is in a situation where, okay, I've done it, but I'm just starting my route, and I still want to prove so much that I want to beat you. So he's at that point. I call it a point of perfect hunger. You know, when you already get the taste what it is, and you know how to operate the knife and the fork, how to keep eating and enjoying, and you still want to eat it. Because some of the top guys, you know, they know how to eat it, they see the meat on the table, but they're like, I've had it so much time. So Carlos in a situation of his career where he already knows how to do it, he got the taste and he wants it, and we all see it. And another thing that I think plays against Novak a little bit is, like, for me, the huge bonus for Carlito is because he's so all around. I mean, how well he uses the distance on the court. This is exactly what I'm saying when we were talking about Echeverry. This is what Carlito using. He uses all the court. Of course, he's gonna run around the forehand to dominate, but you cannot really punish his backhand because his backhand is so solid, and he can go this down the line. And then when he's hit a few forehand, he's coming there, you're ready to defend, and then he's gonna throw in the drop shot. So because he can do everything, he can come to the net off the serve as well, because he can drop shots, it means that he's not just on his side with how good his shots, he's in your head. And because you know that he can do so many things, already that fact keeps you under pressure. And quite honestly, I experience, some luck, probably.
And Carlitos,
because most,
maybe having a day off.
yeah, and most of the other stuff is on Alcaraz's way. So, you know, I mean, as much as I love Novak as well, but I see logically that Alcaraz has some advantages, some heavy advantages, which are going to be very difficult for Novak to overcome. I'll tell you what I liked about Novak and what was a good part about Novak. And I think about also Rafa and and Roger. What a lot of people and a lot of commentators did not understand. Sometimes when you saw Novak or Roger or Rafa play not a solid match in the first or second round, people were like, okay, maybe this guy doesn't look so fresh, or maybe this guy is not in shape. Then the next match, boom, he plays better. The next match, he plays better. And then you realize that these guys, they are so good that they can lift up their level according to the opponent. And I'll give you an example. When Novak had to play the finals against Medvedev in Australia, Medvedev beat Novak a few times at the end of the season. And how Medvedev beat Novak, he was putting a lot of pressure in. He was taking initiative away from Novak. So Novak learned that right away. And as soon as they started to play that final, from the first point on, Novak took all the initiative. He was coming in, he was attacking me. He said, no, you're not going to dictate me. I'm going to dictate you. Even though he had to step out of his comfort zone. What Novak usually did, he would wear you out on hard courts. He would put in back so many balls, you would just simply lose your feet. But he figured out that against Medvedev and against maybe Team was coming hot, this was already not enough. He needed to lift up his game, and he did. So I'm sure that Medvedev had a plan to dominate in the beginning, but Novak just picked up from the first point on, and he put him right on his back. And I think Daniil, throughout the first set, he could not see, he could not understand what's happening, because he was ready to attack, and then he was put on the back foot. So what we should never underestimate is the power of these top champions to lift their level a bit higher to the level where we maybe have never seen before. And this is why they're great. I think the reason why Novak, Rafa, Roger, Andy, why they stayed so much great, and why a lot of the promising youngsters, they could not catch up with them, is because these young hot guys came in with their natural talents, good preparation, but because they started going through the draws very easily, they thought this was going to be the same against these top guys. And eventually they never improved enough. So they got to top 20, top 10, but they could never bite a butt of this top 3 or top 4. Because the things that these 3 top guys had to learn and improve their games were so much that these guys became almost like a level down, according to them. And the first guy who really pushed all the way, I think, was Dominic Thiem. He was the really one who challenged even rough on clay courts, and then on hard courts. And then the next one, full respect to Daniil Medvedev. I think Dominic and Daniil were really the first 2 guys who challenged the big 4. Even though Stefanos played some good matches, he started beating a little bit earlier Roger and I think Novak, but real warriors came with Dominic and then with Daniil. And now obviously these younger guys start to picking up, but these were the 2 guys who paved the way. And now you have Zverev, you have Rune, you have Ruud. All these guys are so hungry. They say, okay, if these guys can do it and now Alcaraz can do it, why can't we? So I think we're getting into the era where the field is going to start opening up a little bit. I'm just afraid that Alcaraz is going to dominate too hard. But hopefully these guys can keep catching up with him, and we're going to have some good competition.
It's a pleasure listening to you, Vladimir. Thank you for your generosity and clarity and your concepts. What is the secret, or it has been in East European tennis in general? Because since Martina Navratilova, Lendl, Sukova, Mechir, oh, you name it. How many What would you say is the mental part, the physical part, the technical part, the how good coaches you have, teachers developing players, and a lot of women, Sharapova, you name it, right?
Yes. I think two things. First of all is hunger. Most of us from the Eastern Bloc, we were basically very hungry. We did not live very rich life. And, you know, we were hungry. We wanted to compete. People felt like they're able to, and they saw that this is the way how we can organize our lives and live really on a really good level. So basically, it's I don't want to sound too much like basic hunger, not like food hunger, but hunger to live a good, proper life, like a richer life after the Eastern Bloc. And then the second thing is that the good thing from the Eastern Bloc is because everything was built so systematic, so there was a lot of sport culture, because obviously in that Eastern Bloc and Russia in form of USSR, sport was part of the politics. So because of that, a lot of the good coaches, good doctors, education, there was so much resources put into the system of developing the correct ways of training, studying. There was literally sport science. So a lot of that sport culture came from science-based things. And then there was a system and there was a sport culture. People saw that if you're becoming a good, successful sportsman in one of those countries, you're gonna live a good life. So natural hunger, uh, systematic approach, a lot of resources, and also I have to say that it was probably the point of selection. For example, I'll give you an example. So my first coach, normally now you have academies advertising, okay, come here, train. You know what my first coach, Slava Konikov, did? He was, by the way, working 15 years after in America in Sacramento State College. So what he did back in Minsk, he went around the schools, all the local schools. He went to the first and second graders, and he said on a fitness class, like a gym class, like you have math, algebra, geometry, whatever there is, and then you have the gym, which nobody wanted to go to. So he went to the gym classes in all the schools in the neighborhood. He sat on the gym classes and he took the numbers of the most athletic kids. Then he talked to the gym teachers. He said, can I invite these guys for an open lesson of tennis? So he would take these most athletic kids. Then he would do some specific tennis things, because you can be an athletic, but if a good coach with good eyes, he will say, okay, this guy is athletic, but he is closer to football. This guy is athletic, but this guy is going to run better. This guy athletic, but he also likes to play with the ball. And he likes to hold the ball. He likes to not just hold the ball, but hit the ball with something. So, and this is called selection. So that's why, imagine, it was his first classes. First time, first year, he started working as a coach. He found me and he found Tatiana Puchik. I was 25.
How old you were, Vladimir?
I was 7.5.
Oh.
So he found me 25 in the world and Tatiana 55 in the world. First year of coaching. So the reason why is because he was smart and he found the tennis players. He did not just post the stickers, please come for the first tennis lesson. No, he went, he found the best, most athletic kids. And between those athletic kids, he found the tennis players. And then obviously there was 20 players first. Half a year later, 10 people left. Half a year later, 3 people left, but then a few other schools. So he had a solid group of 10 guys who were very good.
I saw videos when Safina's mom, Marat and Dinara, was coaching the little ones in Russia alongside with other ladies, old ladies.
Yes.
And they were having a line of kids and very methodical technical development. So do you believe in when you are developing young players, Vladimir, on private instruction or group lessons, or both?
I think you got to have a good balance of both, because at the end of the day, and especially in the beginning, to me, I'm a huge fan of the coaches who are paying a lot of attention to technical development, because I've seen a lot of players who did not make it big, even though they were very ambitious, very physical, because their technical development in the early years corrupted them. Of course, you can compensate a lot, but if your technique is at the level where there's some level of technical faulties, which inevitably will limit your further development, and especially in higher class. So I think I personally believe in a correct technical development in the early stages. And I think you got to have a good balance where you have enough time to exactly explain what the kid needs to do. You have to show him, and you have to have enough time to see that he starts repeating the movements the way they look. After you see the kid has visually accepted your program and started doing it, and when his shots are going into the stereotypes, then you can put him on a tennis wall, then you can put him in the group lessons, and basically when the technique is there, every other repetition is going to work for him. If the technique is not there, the guy is going to keep working on the faults, because the body doesn't know correct or not correct. The body will repeat. So you either repeat the correct technical movements and become better, or you repeat wrong technical movements, and inevitably it's going to corrupt your improvement. Or you're going to find a coach who's going to look at 5 kids and say, okay, you're okay, but that guy is technically a little bit better, and it's probably going to be easier with him than with you. And I don't want to be, if the people are putting in the effort, I want them to be technically more correct. That's my personal take on it.
So you advise, based on my understanding, maybe start with private instruction, right? Lessons. And then as soon as they get the basic foundation, putting them in group lessons.
In the very, very, very beginning, it's good to get kids together. It's good to get kids together because, in my believing, in the beginning, you don't even have to do the tennis right away. In the beginning, you have to work on the development of coordination. The kids from 6 to 10 to 11, they like to play. So you have to teach them to move, you have to teach them to throw the ball, you have to teach them to run, you have to teach them to curl over. There's a lot of things. Then you have to teach them to deal with the tennis ball. Then you start showing the technique. And once you come to the tennis technique and you start doing the movements, you have to see. And some of them might need some private work to make sure that they're catching the tennis technique correct, because it's such a difficult, coordinationally speaking, sport. It's such a difficult sport,
It is. Do you are you agree with teaching kids with the small balls, the soft balls, the colorful balls?
I'm absolutely with it, because I have seen, especially us growing in former Eastern Bloc, and most of the indoor courts are very fast, like wood or hard courts, whatever. And then obviously all the kids that started to play tennis, because the big ball jumped so high every time around the elbow around the head high, if you take a 6-year-old kid and just toss him the balls above the net, the ball is going to jump and end up here. So the kid started, it's like an epidemic of extreme grips.
Yeah.
And it's not because the kids want to learn to play extreme grips, it's because the normal ball, when you toss from the other side, it jumps right above your forehead. So inevitably, the kids are going to take this extreme grip, and it's just easier to play the ball with a grip like this. And then it gets to the situation where you want to fix that, but the stereotype is so deep engraved already in the muscle memory that to get it out of there is so strong. So my personal opinion is that this red balls, then orange balls, then green balls, I think it's a very good idea. The next reason why I think it's so first of all, you get a better, you bet an honest bounce. Like when the top players start playing, they hit the ball around the middle of the body. So when the kids are able to hit there, it means that this is a good bounce for the kid. Second thing is that the ball doesn't fly like crazy. Imagine the kid is just learning the movement, and then he hits 1-2 shots, the ball is going to the fence. Then he's like, okay, what I'm doing now? You know, the coach this movement, but the ball ends up going 6 meters up. And then how do I control these little things? So, but when you have a softer ball, then the kid can really learn to have a good prolonged swing, you know, but then not be scared that the ball is flying so high. The third positive thing is that with the smaller balls on a smaller court, because they didn't jump too high, too far, the kids already, after the 2-3 years, they start learning the tactics of the game. So they see, okay, here I play longer, here I play shorter. Then the guy wants to come in, okay, I try to put a lob. So then it's already you're waking up the game potential of the kid. So for me, those 3 things are so important. And this tennis stance is, I think it's great.
I have a question from the audience. Fernando Famoso, tennis coach, said, I'm currently working with a couple of Russian juniors. I noticed their families are very pushy with their kids. What do you think about this? Because here people tell me that Russian culture is like that. Parents wants to be involved in everything. What do you think about that? Thanks, he said.
Yes. First of all, I recognize this problem. It really is the problem. And the problem with that is that unfortunately, in the last 10-15 years, the culture has changed severely. So basically, it's like when the people pay money, they think that they're controlling everything and their egos are very expanded. And it takes a lot of either authority of the coach or a lot of talking to parents and explaining that in your case, this is your first time with your kid. I'm in the industry for the last 15 years or 10 years, and I have worked with 50 kids. So even if I'm not a genius, I have seen so much with my eyes, and I have taught so many that I still have a better chance to teach this kid than you think you can. So I have to say there is a lot of intellect as well explaining those things. But the one thing you should not, the one thing I think that sometimes is wrong is completely excluding out, because then it's also not an honest game, because parents do pay the check, and sometimes it's a big part of family budget. So you also don't want to be in a situation where, okay, this guy is paying money, maybe half of the family budget or a big part of the family budget, but then they just tell him, get the hell out of there, stay behind the fence. Maybe that's also not an honest approach. So I think it's important that communication is important. And also we have to understand, as coaches, we have to understand that you're with the kids 4 hours a day, 2 hours a day, but then the family is the rest of the day. If you can make a parent your helper, then you have a chance to extend that time. You're going to be on the court with this kid 2 or 3 hours a day. You talk to the parent about some things, he's going to talk the same things with the kid at home. So then you get like an extra coach with the kid at home, which you cannot be. Of course, it takes experience. I understand. Of course, it takes a lot of intellect. It takes a lot of knowledge, but it is how it is.
Great. Vladimir, what separates the top, the champions? The mental competences, the mental capacities that if you will have to run a presentation, right, for sports psychologists, for coaches, parents, players, everybody's listening to you right now. What would you tell? This is what separates the greatest minds for the other ones.
First of all, most of these huge champions, they're visionaries. They're visionaries. They can see things in their head that are not in reality yet. So when they're young, they already see themselves as big champions. So it's not in reality yet, but it is a reality in their head already. Their power of thought, their power of mind, their vision is so strong and so clear that nothing can stop them. That's one thing. And another thing, what I've learned, and I'm going to tell you a story to back that up. Another thing is a lot of talented guys, extremely talented guys, they actually understand how talented they are. Sometimes we've had these discussions, okay, man, this situation is so tough. Everyone is going to get choked. You know, this is such a tough situation. What happens? So you have the super talents and then you get good guys. The super talents, 100%, 95% of the situations, they're going to do it good because they're confident in understanding their talent. And the other guy can understand that maybe, you know, I've put in all the work, I've done all the work, blah, blah, blah. But deep in my heart, I know that guy's potential. And then that a little, maybe I'm not that good. This is going to give you a little bit a doubt in your head. And the superstars, they don't have that doubt. They really understand the magnitude of their talent. And I'll give you a story to back that up. I was at the Olympics in 2000, and I was good buddy with Kafelnikov, with Evgeny. And then, quite honestly, it was already end of the summer. I was out of my peak, even though I played a good Wimbledon. I played something else pretty good. But then at the Olympics, I was kind of going down already. I was not playing good, even though I beat, I think I beat Gaston Gaudio in the first round, and then, but that's not the point. So we came there, we started training, and we're like, after the first practice, we're like, shit, we're in a bad shape, you know. So we said we need to train more. So we come the next day and we start hitting again 1.5 hours, and I'm still kind of not finding my good rhythm. And I see Evgeny starts playing really good, like picks up every day. Then the next day, I'm still kind of struggling, and he plays a little better. So as we walk from the courts, we go through the draw. He takes a look at the draw. He already won the first round. He said, okay, I have a good draw. I'm gonna play this. Semifinals, I'm gonna beat this guy, and then I'm gonna win the finals against this guy. So this year, I'm gonna win my Olympics. I have already won 2 Grand Slams, and at the end of the year, we're gonna win Davis Cup, and I'm happy with my career. So he said, literally right there at the draw, it was already in his head. And I swear to God, he said it so confidently. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I didn't say that, but I was like, wow, this guy is confident. So what do you think happened? He won the Olympics. He just beat all these guys. He got the gold medal of Olympics, and then they won the Davis Cup later that year. So these guys, understanding their talent, they understand that their talent is a real thing. There is separation, there is hard work. There are things that you can do with hard work, with discipline, with dedication, with all that stuff. But then there's such talent that's impossible not to notice. And these guys, they understand that. And this gives them so much confidence.
And also, it's of course part of the what you're saying, but I'm always wondering. I played tennis, of course, my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
How these guys? You also did it. You were top 25 in the world at some point, and Davis Cup semifinalist. And how do you guys handle the pressure in big points, big moments? Still amazed me, Vladimir, when I watch. I would be choking, panicking, and these guys, the top, can rip balls and go for. Can you teach that or not?
This is the thing. So in my opinion, there is 5-7% of the people, they're inborn innate champions. You don't need to teach them how to win. They are born with it. For them, they actually enjoy the stress situation. There's 5-7% of people like that.
5%.
5-7%, in my opinion. They just love the fight. This is like they live for it. They love the competition. And then there is this probably 20% who should not even compete. Like they're so bad at competing. They have to write literature at home. They have to write paintings. They're just not good for sports. And then there's like a good solid core of people who can be solid athletically, who can be disciplined, blah, 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 blah. But then they need to develop those skills, how to become extremely effective in competition. Some guys, they learn to be very efficient in training and they can learn the skills amazingly. So for me, the next step is to learn to compete. You have to start understanding the essence of competition, and before you start winning, you have to learn to enjoy the fight. You have to learn to come to the court and say, I understand that I have a chance, I'm gonna lose this match, but I will enjoy the whole fight. If you are able to put yourself in a position that you're working on the court and you love the game, you love to enjoy the fight itself, the competition, then you will understand the competition. And once you understand the competition and you already learned how to improve your skills, you're taking to the third level. You're mastering the game. And there you are the master of your dreams. Not the dreams you're master. You're the master of your dreams. So basically, to me, the mantra of tennis, like what I say to my guys, if you want to enjoy the game, just come and play because it's a beautiful game. If you want to really improve, you have to start to learn to fight, because only in fighting you start learning yourself. Fight is difficult, physically, mentally, psychologically, but if you want to improve, you have to start to enjoy fighting on the tennis court. When you learned what is the fighting on the tennis court, you understand that it's not only you, there's also another guy. You start to see all these angles. Then you start mastering the game, and then your chances of winning are so much higher.
But as a coach, Vladimir, how can we teach our students to fight in a tennis court?
Basically, there are two situations. The one situation is, like I said, there are people that know how to compete and know how to win, and you teach them skills. They'll figure out how to win. You teach them skills, because their problem is because they're so competitive, they don't like to work on their skills. So to this group of guys, you work on their skills. Another part, the guys who are liking to train all the time, but they feel like, you know, when the competition starts or something, then you have to build the bridge. You have to build the logical bridge. If you want to become a great champion, you have to take your goal orientation, but you are only getting there through the skills. So you kind of have to you have to kind of add those two. It's like a bridge. If you're here in position one, you're skill oriented, but the winning is on the other side. This is the bridge. The bridge is not there yet. You can be in a position of just skills, okay? The bridge is not working. Or you can be in a second positions where you want to get those trophies, but you don't want to build the bridge. Then you're not going to cross this bridge. The only way to get those trophies, you have to build this bridge.